All-you-can-eat buffet employees, what's the most disgusting display of gluttony you have witnessed? Been working in a Chinese buffet for 6 years. Here's my top. Kid put chocolate pudding on his plate, licked the big spoon used for pouring it, the one used by everybody, and put it back in the pudding. I saw him and had to change everything. A guy about 18 years old at the ice cream counter didn't have time to react and hurled in the ice cream cans and on the floor. Looked at it, said nothing, and just walked away back to his table. Buzz dudes coming in around 6 p.m., they ate full plates in like 20 minutes and hurled everything under their table. We had to move every client out of this big section, capacity of about 60 seats, because the smell was so bad. I was the one that had to put a mask on to clean everything. An extremely fat guy brought a big bag of candies, kind of like Smarties, took it out of his pocket, put a ton of them on his desserts, and put the candy back in his pocket. I was his waiter, and I think he told me about 4 times that we should have these candies in the buffet so he wouldn't have to bring his own. An old lady putting a plate full of chicken wings in her purse, probably to bring back home or something. No bags, nothing, just bare chicken wings directly in there. A regular client asked me where the coffee-flavored cake was. We have a rotation for desserts, so that cake wasn't there that day. I told him, and he asked me if I could get some for him in the back store. After he insisted like 3 times, I finally gave up and grabbed a piece in the fridge and gave it to him. We charge the drink, about $2.50, but it's all you can drink. We see plenty of people drinking about 10 full glasses of Pepsi, and they complain when I bring the bill and we charge them $2.50 for it. Some even insisted on talking to my manager. We do serve takeouts, and someone came to get his order. He looked at the buffet and asked me, "Do you think I could grab something to eat real quick?" while smiling. We often get this asked as a joke, so naturally I played their game and answered, "Yes, of course." The guy literally walked over there, took an entire egg from our salad bar, ate it in one bite, then came back to pay for his takeout. I had no idea what to say, and he just left like that. We have an employee who makes omelets and eggs on demand, and one guy came and asked my coworker for eggs over. Naturally, she asked 1 or 2, and the guy answered 8. She initially thought it was a joke, but the guy wasn't laughing at all. She finally did all 8 eggs for him, and he ate them all in like 2 minutes. The buffet is located in Quebec City, Canada. I probably have more, but those are the most obvious ones. We have to deal with spew at least once a week, usually kids though. I don't even care anymore and find these situations rather funny. Okay, so my big takeaway here is from the big guy who brought his own candies to sweeten up his desserts. Like, I didn't know we could bring in our own sweets. I'm definitely bringing some cookie dough when I go, and as long as I don't hurl, we should be alright, right? But let's see what the rest of the stories have coming up. Here's story 2. Obligatory, not an employee, but I ate at CC's Pizza recently with a friend, and it really made me not want to go back anytime soon. I think the highlight of the experience was an incredibly large woman who just finished several plates of pizza, and when one of her family members mentioned she could probably slow down because of her high cholesterol, she said it was okay because she made a salad, and then proceeded to point at a bowl that was so overly saturated with ranch, croutons, bacon bits, and cheese that you couldn't see a single bit of green in the bowl. As the conversation unfolded and she continued to argue her point with the people at the table, I was shocked because there were 3 major holes in her logic. First, she assumed that by eating something healthy, it magically canceled out all the unhealthy food that she ate. Second, she believed that her ranch soup was healthy because everything with the label salad is automatically healthy. And third, she thought that just making the salad gave you all of its nutritional benefits, that you just have to appear to eat healthy to actually be healthy. She never actually ate the salad but kept insisting that I, quote, ordered one, so it counts. Story 3. I wouldn't say it was disgusting at all. At this buffet, they use smaller sized dishes. I think they read a study that said that the smaller the plate, the less wasted food, and so people would just eat a little bit less. But old Butch here didn't care for the smaller plates. Nope, he kept stacking the food higher and higher on it. One time he targeted meatballs. He waited until a fresh pan was brought out, and then he went to work. The meatballs he stacked like a little tower, getting higher and higher as they pushed slightly towards the middle. He had about a foot in height of meatballs. It could have been the 8th wonder of the world. Another time he had snuck in his own plate, one that was larger than the others just so that he could fit more on it without having to make more trips. At the end of it, he asked our staff to wash it and bring it back to him. We had to tell him he couldn't bring his own plate anymore due to potential food safety violations. Instead, he tried bringing larger paper plates instead that could be thrown out when they were done. Eventually, he was banned because the store was losing a bit of money off of him. They put his picture up in the back of a do not serve wall. Well, eventually the store was sold to someone else. We removed all the other photos but his, and I put a label on it that said hero. The new manager was a bit of a jerk, so me and another guy said that he had saved a customer's life from choking on it, which may have been possible if someone didn't chew before swallowing one of those meatballs. Now, the rest of the old staff agreed with it just so the man could eat into the profits of the new owners. I eventually found out that they were a programmer for Microsoft. They were just used to having to think outside the box to get more of what tools that they had. In any event, he was a glorious jerk. Alright, so I've worked in fast food myself before, and I always hated washing plates after closing time. So, to the crew who has to wash even more plates now because their buffet uses smaller plates, I feel ya. Also, that guy's paper plate move? Yes, total hero. Story 4. I was working wedding functions and they had a buffet dinner, then later on a buffet late snack set. Now, two guys did something that day that showed me the depths of gluttony. So, guy number 1 was a tall, skinny dude in his early 20s. I assume a college student from the shabby suit and greed that he showed me. Come dinner time, he must have been determined to get his money's worth and went up a total of 18 times. And each time he came back with a full plate of meat and potatoes. There was determination in his eyes as he wolfed it all down as his parents watched in disappointment as their son ate more than the rest of the table combined. I, however, was impressed at what he did. At least he wouldn't need to eat ramen for a while. The second guy, however, was a bit different. He was easily 500 pounds and was sweating as he sat down. It was painful and ever so slightly terrifying to watch this grotesque behemoth wobble up to the buffet, with a plate in each hand, piggy eyes scouring the food looking for its next victim. This man ate us out of lasagna. That doesn't sound much, however, it was a 700-person function with the equivalent of a pickup truck's worth of lasagna in the back. I watched him eat a plate, and it was less eat than inhale, sweating profusely the whole time, this greasy, smelly sweat that several other wedding-goers commented on. His wife watched nonchalantly as if his destruction of the lasagna was an everyday thing. The staff were contemplating throwing him out when it happened. The dude soiled himself at the table. He didn't care. The assistant manager broke down crying whilst 4 security members attempted to carry this man out whilst he protested. And one of the security members had a bad time, however, as the vigorous movement of the human jello ball upset his stomach, and the poor bouncer got covered head to toe in secondhand lasagna. That was the worst display of greed and gluttony I've ever seen. Story 5. I have this story that needs to be shared despite not being an employee. About 6 years ago, several friends and I decided to have an eating contest at this one Chinese restaurant. When I say I am friends with some huge guys, we're talking every single one of them is 300 to 400 pounds, and there's 5 of them with me at 201 pounds. As soon as we walk in, the host kinda shudders nervously because he knows that whatever he's about to witness, none of it can be good. He still seats us, albeit reluctantly, and asks the manager to keep an eye on our table. What happens is exactly as expected. Plate after plate gets devoured and stacked within minutes. I even make a respectable showing of 7 plates, but it's a paltry sum in comparison to my friends. Most notably, these 2 brothers put away something like 14 plates apiece. People in the restaurant are marveling and staring at the combined stacks as we had asked the waiter not to take any of them away. Until we finished, of course, with them all. In the end, there was something like 68 plates stacked. Everyone manages to hold it all down too, and as we're sitting there all waiting on the other one to get sick and vomit, no one does. Finally, we're like, well, let's get out of here and get into a food coma then. And we agree. 3 of them decide they need to take a leak really badly first. We all head into the bathroom, laughing and commenting on the sheer grossness of what just unfolded. The first and most noticeable thing is that one of the stalls is totally clogged up. Someone did some serious work on that toilet. And one of our friends heads to the secondary stall while the others head to the urinals. After he finishes whizzing, one of the other brothers heads over to wash his hands, but slips on this huge pile of hand soap accumulated near the sink and flops right on his back. The comedy of this reaction is overpowering. Everyone bursts into a fit of laughter, and even better because of how slick the floor is, he just keeps sliding back down every time he tries to stand up. It's like watching a turtle that can't flip itself back over. Then cue the nastiness. His brother gets into such a hysterical laughing fit that he starts getting sick. He hurls into the sink and directly onto his floor-bound brother. The brother on the floor, between being hurled on and the ungodly, disgusting smell, starts getting sick horizontally along the floor. Between the two of them, they must spew up several gallons and pounds of food. Our friend, who is on the toilet, can't even see what's happening, but he can hear it. He proceeds to start getting sick in the stall into his own pants while he's still taking a dump. My friend and I, utterly appalled by what we're witnessing, run to get an employee. As the employee runs back with us, his eyes are in absolute horror. There's spew everywhere. The bathroom looks like a freaking war zone. The guy in the bathroom can't stand up because his pants are literally filled, so he's trapped in there. The abject horror on the attendant's face is indescribable, really, and I cannot imagine how he felt. His reaction when he saw the one brother on the floor, well, he hurled along the wall and the trash can. The employee went to the front desk, grabbed a sign and put up the out of order sign on the front door to the bathroom, and then wrote up another sign for the front door saying, "Sorry, our men's restrooms are temporarily out of order." When it was all said and done, it looked like the exorcist had hurled along the entire floor, most of the walls, the mirrors, into the sinks, and around the urinals. It was, to this day, the most disgusting thing I have ever seen. And the kicker, there was a totally random guy in the last stall who had never said a single thing, who just sat there for the entire ordeal in absolute silence. After the employee put up the sign, he walked out of the stall, looked at us, and said, "Screw all of you people," and just left. I haven't been back to an all-you-can-eat establishment that wasn't a Brazilian steakhouse since this day because of the horrible memories I have associated with them. Holy crap, the aftermath of that, I do not even want to keep picturing it in my own brain. This would probably be one of the days that I would never forget. Anyway, since you're already halfway through the video with me, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Story 6. I'm a fry cook at a seafood restaurant and we host bus tours that make a stop at our restaurant on their way to Foxwoods. We're located about 30 minutes from the casino. We have a buffet for them in our banquet room with all-you-can-eat lobster, steak tips, stuffed flounder, shrimp cocktail, plus pans upon pans of different vegetable sides. Now, this particular story happened when I was still a dishwasher, but it goes like this. First off, this particular tour bus had started in New Orleans, went east of Florida, traveled up I-95, and eventually made its way to us. One of their many stops along the road trip, the patrons on this particular tour were mostly in their 50s to 60s. A few were accompanied by their adult children and a few of their families, around 45 people. When I say these people were dressed nice, that would be an understatement. They were all dressed in their Sunday best, from baby blue suit jackets to tasteful purple pimp-esque suits. They definitely had a Steve Harvey type look to them. So they end up having a great time. I mean, with all-you-can-eat lobster, you're bound to gorge yourself into bliss, right? Then eventual regret and sleepiness like any buffet. And after their meal, they stuck around for another half hour to 45 minutes walking around a bit before leaving for the final stretch of their coach bus road trip. And right before they left, some of the women grabbed their purses and handbags and went back over to the food. We usually let the party eat their fill and we leave the pan set up for a little while everyone leaves so the employees can go over and make themselves a plate of leftovers. So these ladies all started grabbing the lobsters and stuffing them into their purses. One woman had thought ahead and had brought an empty plastic grocery bag, but the majority of the women just stuffed them in their bag like it was no big thing. Nothing crazy happened like fighting or anything, but my manager explained to them that it's not all you can eat plus a meal for later. That's not how buffets work. They could keep the lobsters, one already in their possession. We couldn't do anything with them at that point. But they couldn't continue filling their bags, so they stopped, then went on their way to Foxwoods. What's really weird to me is, first, besides that one lady with a bag, all of them are going to have lobster juice all up in their handbags and crap that they carry around everywhere with them. Second, once they left, they had no way of cracking the lobsters, let alone having them warm or having drawn butter for them if they did get them open. Third, they were going onto a coach bus with like 45 to 50 other people. It's not like they were going home after their meal. Fourth, at the casino, these people would all have their bags either on them, smelling like low tide, or back in the bus, festering in the heat. Fifth, they still had to travel back to New Orleans with the nastiness in their bags. And sixth, it was weird that even these people dressed up super nice in their Sunday's best would stoop down to stuff in their pockets at the buffet. All were very nice people, very lively, funny, and most of all respectful, even when confronted about stealing the leftover lobsters. It was just bizarre seeing them put dripping wet lobsters in their bags. Story 7. A few years back, when Golden Corral first got the chocolate fountains, I went there and was trying it out. As I was walking up to the fountain and I started to contemplate what I was going to have, a toddler took his drink and just poured that frickin' thing into the fountain and ruined it. So anyways, the manager comes over and is going ballistic because they had just set it up for the day and now they would completely have to replace the chocolate. Shortly after, this man comes up and decides he wants some chocolate brownies, but he can't as the machine is being purged in the back of the place, so what does he do? The guy just puts his tray down and leaves the restaurant, goes to the toddler's family car and slashes their tires. He was never caught after that. That man was a different kind of devoted that the world needs. Well, I guess when it comes to chocolate, I could say that man is my hero. Story 8. I've got a few. First, I watched a lady get a to-go box and fill up the top and bottom at the end of the styrofoam was about to collapse when she dropped an egg roll on the ground. She then proceeded to pick it up with her toes, she was wearing flip-flops, and place it into her box. Second, I witnessed a family of 4 at a Yo Sushi create multiple mountainous stacks of those little plates on their table. Some were like chin height. Plot twist though, they wasted a disgusting amount of it. I don't think they really understood how it worked. And were actually shocked when the waiter took a literal 10 minutes counting everything up and handed them a 400-pound bill. Was a definite did that just frickin' happen moment. Third, when my family was on vacation in Florida, we went to an all-you-can-eat pizza place. For dessert, they had these really tasty sticky buns that were in a big demand. So me and my dad were in line to get one, and once they put them out, some big guy at the front of the line literally just picked up the whole tray and walked back to his table. It was like 30 cinnamon buns, nobody else at his table. Fourth, I watched a fight break out between a customer and a manager at an all-you-can-stack restaurant. You pay for a plate and you take as much as you can stack on a single plate. Anyway, this guy had his plate stacked about 12 plus inches high with food. As he was reaching for a serving spoon, he dropped his plate. He demanded another and the manager got pissed and told him he shouldn't have stacked it so high. He refused to give the man a refund. He pointed to a sign that said something about paying for dropped food. Apparently, it wasn't the first time this had happened. Fifth, I watched a woman come in, go right to the dessert section, and pick up 4 plates of pumpkin pie. Then, as soon as more plates of pie are set out, she gets up, before she's even finished eating the 4 slices she's already grabbed, cuts right in front of a kid about to grab a slice, and picks up 4 more plates. I should mention she didn't even finish them all. There were like 2 3/4 slices of pie on her table when she left. Story 9. I went to a Brazilian steakhouse once. For those unfamiliar with the custom, it is all-you-can-eat salad bar, and then you sit at the table and the pasadores, or waiters, bring out perfectly cooked and spiced meats to your table. They ask if you would like to try some and cut you off a small portion. The pasadores pass through in rotations until you move a small place card on your table from green to red. When it's red, they pass by you and you can eat and talk and flip back to green at your leisure. I love these places. However, they are fairly expensive, so I can only go on my birthday or special occasions. You also tend to dress a bit nicer, as these are cloth napkin-style places. So with all of this in mind, there I was on my birthday, dressed fairly well with my friends and family having a good meal. In the booth across from us sat a man. This was no ordinary man, though. This was a man on a personal mission to destroy this churrascaria through the force of eating. He was there before us and wore workout pants, an extra-large shirt with no sleeves, flip-flops, and I kid you not, a visor. Like one of those green visors you see people who pretend to be accountants wear. Luckily for my party, he was after us in rotation. However, he made sure to humph and grumph every time a pasadore stopped at our table and gave a slice of deliciously cooked meat to one of the people at our table. "This stuff is cold by the time it gets to me," he would complain. So the pasadores altered courses and made sure to hit his table first. No big deal. After all, let this one dude get his meat before they serve our table of 6. Everyone in my party was fairly well fed and contemplated setting up the red flag of surrender to the men bringing us row after row of meat. A few of us were still getting meat every now and then, but the entire party was pretty much dying down. However, the dude in the visor, well, he was still going. He was eating meat like a T-Rex, barely even chewing. He asked for double portions every now and then, swigging some choice beer. He went for the nicer imported beer. This dude was an eating machine. Now, he was already extraordinary enough to have my curiosity, but this is the part of the story where he gets my full attention. He had just finished some more meat when he looked up at me, made eye contact for what felt like an eternity. He was looking right at me, but not seeing me. His eyes were staring off and getting large. He looked panicked, stood up, suddenly ripped the visor off his head, heaved over at the waist, and covered the floor in the most impressive amount of spew I have ever seen. The sound of it just hitting the floor was loud enough to overpower all the ambient conversations and noise of the restaurant. Two of the girls at my table screamed and stood up. One of my friends dry heaved. Luckily, he held it in. So the manager came and several janitors followed and cleaned it up almost immediately. One with carpet shampoo, two with buckets, and one with some trays. The busboys sprayed some air freshener and changed the table linen, all in all doing a good job covering up this massive biological crime scene that we had all just witnessed. The man in the visor was moved to a table in the back. He did not leave. He did not leave. He simply sat down again at that new table and flipped a little card from red to green. Wow, what a birthday. But also let that be a lesson learned for all of us that at any all-you-can-eat place, if you see a person dressed up for battle with some beef and they're wearing a visor to hide their shame maybe, as they scarf down all that food, stay very far away. And if you like these stories, here's more because YouTube thinks you're going to love them. I'll catch you in that video, and thank you for watching this one with me.